As you guys know, Julian Assange, the High Court said that the extradition to the US can go ahead. They said that the January decision by Judge Bretzer to block the extradition, they've overturned it, and they've okayed the extradition to the US. Now, here's an update. This morning, this is from Stella Morris, by the way. So Stella Morris is Assange's partner, okay? And she wrote that this morning, at 11:05, Julian Assange filed an application for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court, the High Court's ruling that he can be extradited to the US on 3 grounds, okay? So the High Court's ruling in USA versus Assange raises 3 points of law of general public importance that have an impact on the procedural and human rights safeguards of a wide range of other types of cases, okay? So this paragraph over here is about Assange's health. As you guys know, the High Court accepted the medical evidence and it upheld that part of the decision from January, okay? So on December 10th, the High Court upheld the Magistrates Court's assessment based on the evidence before her that there was a real risk that should Julian Assange be extradited to the US, he would be subjected to near total isolation, including under the regimes of Special Administrative Measures, SAMs, and or sent to ADX, meaning ADX Florence in Colorado, which is a federal super maximum prison. And that such isolation would cause his mental condition to deteriorate to such a degree that there was a high risk of suicide. These findings led the lower court to block the extradition under Section 91 of the Extradition Act, which bans oppressive extraditions. However, the High Court overturned the lower court's decision to block the extradition based solely on the fact that after the US lost the extradition case on January 4th, the State Department sent a letter to the UK Foreign Office containing conditional assurances in relation to Assange's placement under SAMS and ADX. The assurances letter explicitly states in points 1 and 4 that the US retains the power to impose SAMs on Assange and designate Assange to ADX, should he do or say anything that would cause the US government to determine in its subjective assessment that Assange should be placed under SAMs. So basically, this is the point that they're not really assurances, because if you read them, in the assurance itself, the US is saying, well, we won't put him in SAMs, but we reserve the right to put him in SAMs if he does something we don't like. Okay, so that's not really an assurance then, is it? If you can still put him in SAMs. And so these conditional assurances alone were considered sufficient by the High Court to overturn the lower court's decision. Now, under English law, in order for the application to have a chance to be considered by the Supreme Court, this is a very important point, right? So if you want your case to be heard by the Supreme Court, first, the same High Court judges who ordered Julian Assange's extradition must certify that at least one of the Supreme Court appeal grounds is a point of law of general public importance. So when I interviewed David Mendoza, who again was extradited to the US from Spain, he told me the same thing, right? If the Supreme Court hears your case, this is generally the same in most jurisdictions, but certainly true under UK law, is that your case must be relevant. Certainly, at least one of the grounds of appeal in your case must be relevant to the public, right? And a matter of extradition is certainly relevant because it affects everyone. Anyone can be extradited under the Extradition Act, right? Any British citizen, and not even just a British citizen, anyone in UK jurisdiction can be extradited under this law. And so it is certainly a matter for the public. And there are 3 grounds of appeal. I'm assuming at least one of them is to do with that. But again, that's just speculation. But certainly, I think there's a fair chance they hear his case. I hope so. Gary McKinnon was not so fortunate. I recall that he exhausted all his legal options. He was also facing extradition to the US from the UK, and he perpetrated the biggest computer hack of all time. He went into NASA, the Air Force, the Navy. I mean, it's incredible, honestly. But yeah, they tried to extradite him, also a legal battle for 10 years, and it's actually Theresa May who withdrew who blocked the extradition, not the Supreme Court. And so I'll just read you the last paragraph here from Stella. It says that Julian Assange's application for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court is therefore currently under consideration by the High Court judges. It is not known how long it will take for the decision to come down, but it is not expected before the 3rd week of January. Here we have the filing. Of course, I'll go through that in a separate video with you because this is a very long and extensive, detailed video. But nevertheless, what I just read to you underlines the overall grounds of appeal. And of course, how the appeal would work. Now, the High Court judges were talking about Holroyd and Burnett, right? So just for context, which is very interesting, I don't know if this has happened before, but Holroyd, so Timothy Holroyd, he's one of the High Court judges, right? And there are two of them. And he was actually involved in the Assange case previously in July, because in July, there was a sort of a pre-appellate hearing where they decided what grounds the U.S. could appeal on, because the U.S. wanted to appeal on 5 grounds, right? 3 of those grounds were related to the medical evidence, and 2 of them relating to the assurances, the diplomatic assurances. And he decided in the United States' favor. He said, okay, you can appeal on all 5, even though it was previously not allowed. So it was allowed on 3 out of 5, but not all 5. And he gave the okay. He said, you can appeal on all 5. Now, ultimately, 3 out of those 5 grounds were thrown out. Right? I hope I'm not confusing you with the numbers. My point is that one of these judges at the High Court ruled in the U.S. favor twice now. And the other judge, so we're talking about Burnett, I believe he was involved in the Lori Love case. And as you know, he was, again, another British national who faced extradition to the U.S. His extradition was ultimately blocked, and Burnett was involved in that. And so, it could go either way. Now, again, I'm just speculating, but I do think there's a fair chance the High Court listen to or take Assange's case. They hear his case because, extradition is, this obviously relates to, it is a matter for the general public. And so it is absolutely important, right? It is definitely in the general interest of the public. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But as Stella said, don't expect anything at least until the 3rd week of January. So that's, let's say another month, at least, at the very least.